You're listening to A View from the Cheap Seats Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome to A View from the Cheap Seats. I am your host, and well, we've got a sort of an interesting topic. This is a topic I've been sort of thinking about these last several weeks. Mainly because I hadn't had a lot of discussion for the shows. And then this sort of bombshell hit. If you've been living under a rock in terms of wrestling fans, heck, even I think non-wrestling fans have picked up on this story. CM Punk, wrestler, went on to his friend's podcast, the Colt Cabana Art of Wrestling podcast, and told his side of the story, what happened with him in the WWE, why he was fired, and he started, very airing grievances and just airing his feelings that he probably wanted to get off his chest for months on end. Maybe couldn't for legal reasons or whatever. I don't know how contracts on the WWE work anymore. It seems to be on a person-by-person bias by now. So he came out, and if you haven't heard these shows, go out and listen to them, but try and listen to them on the actual Colt Cabana's Art of Wrestling podcast. Honestly, you can Google it. It's not hard. He has it, I think, on Podomatic. I think he has it on iTunes. I think he has it on his website. It's not hard. The reason I say that is for the last several weeks, I've seen people on YouTube repost the podcast on their own personal channels. Some of them have monetized it, trying to get money off of this. Low blow, guys. Low blow. So heck, I might even put it, if I can get the link, and hopefully it's working, I'll put the link in my description so you can go check it out. I believe there's two parts now. There was one part, now there's two parts. So everyone in the wrestling world has sort of been talking about this, and I feel like a lot of the information that did come by, something even the most cynical fans sort of knew what was going on. Even the most biggest, maybe apologists of WWE also sort of knew what was going on. And obviously, he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy for a lot of reasons. A lot of legitimate reasons, too. Not a lot of like, oh, I wasn't paid enough, or I wasn't not crap like that. There was a lot of legitimate sort of reasons that he's gone through. And some of the reasons, again, just him airing a lot of grievances. Like, say, for instance, his creativity was not well put into the WWE. And you kind of look at the product going, yeah. And like, I feel like a lot of people have sort of figured that out by now. And he didn't like where things were going. He didn't like where his storylines were. He was fighting with Vince McMahon and Triple H. Triple H sort of being, well, Triple H. And a lot of people give Triple H, Triple H is such a weird character now. He's such a polarizing character. One week people despise him, the next week they're praising him. I can't figure out which is which. I've heard so many things of him being an a-hole and things like that. But then he's like, oh, but he runs NXT. Oh, yeah, okay, it's fine. So he can run a wrestling show. That's great. Doesn't mean he's still not kind of an a-hole. I'd probably never say that to his face because I'm a wuss. In any case, a lot of the major gripes came from that, and he wasn't very happy. There was talk about him not headlining WrestleMania. He was supposed to be in the main event. They were setting up a storyline, so it was him versus Triple H, and then I think Triple H would probably put him over, and he didn't want that. He wanted to be in the main event, the main event, not sub-main event, main event. And you can see that he's worked his goddamn ass off. You feel like he should have earned at least that much. And he talks about being owed, doing favors, and not getting what's owed to him. And that was, leaving him very upset. And that, honestly, coming from a job like that recently too, and I can honestly know where that's coming from. That's very, very hard to get over. He also was talking about working injured, or being injured. A lot of the Ryback stories came out. He doesn't like Ryback. Ryback injured him, I believe, and I think the first interview. It's been a while since I've heard the first part. Several times, kicking him in the ribs hard, dropping him on a table wrong, doing spots very dangerously, and just, shortening basically Punk's life. And that sucks. Absolutely sucks. When one of the parts about being a professional wrestler is that you have to take care of your opponent. It's one of those rules. It's a rule. It's you take care of each other in the ring. You don't take care of each other, someone gets hurt, and you're probably ending their career or shortening their career. No one wants that. So Ryback was not doing that. Punk called him out on it. Ryback kind of... That story was very strange because it was Punk asked him if he's stupid or something else, and Ryback was like, well, I guess I'm just stupid, which is such a weird answer to give. Like, yeah, I'm kind of dumb. Okay. And he says Ryback was like the steroids guy, and he's sort of huge. Now, again, I don't know if that's true. That's all coming from him. I have no idea about that. Because I remember watching Ryback before he was Ryback, and he was already huge before he was Ryback, so you never know. That to me feels like he said, she said. Don't want to get involved in that sort of situation. What sort of bothers me, though, is some of the reaction to this is I feel like, as fans, we're not paying attention to the correct stories he's telling. Everyone sort of went on like, oh yeah, obviously, creative side is crap, and they're rallying around like, we want better creative. And I'm sitting there going, well, hold on a sec. In these stories, he's talking about a couple of big issues no one else is talking about, like health, and why it's very important that health is like the biggest thing for wrestlers. You have to stay healthy because you work, especially in the WWE with your tours, you work like 300 days a year. You have to stay healthy, so injuries are a really big deal. Concussions and things like that. NFL is finally sort of getting concussions treated and looked at more seriously now. It seems the WWE, at least their doctor side, is not very good at their job in any way, shape, or form. That's the issue I feel like that's been brought up, and he's the biggest profile guy to leave the WWE. And he's talking about couple of different stories. I'm going to look them up real quick. The biggest story was that he was working injured at one point. Like, he was working really badly injured. To the point where, like, he mentions, like, he could have died at least twice. And the WWE doctors kind of, like, said no. Or they didn't say no, they misdiagnosed, I believe. And one of the biggest things about that is that how is that happening? How do you misdiagnose your athletes, One of them was, I do believe, I don't know, was he working with a concussion? No, he came back from rehab, like, really, really early, like too early. And at one point it just became such a terrible, like, he was working so many injuries. Here we go. I found it from one of the sites here. This is a quote from him. I was on all fours after every match, and I was puking for real, or I'm just dry heaving because I don't have anything in my stomach. I have no appetite. I don't know what's up and what's down. I can't sleep. Those are concussions. That's a concussion. He talks about having concussion. I've had a concussion before. I've had like 2 concussions over my entire lifetime. Concussions suck. Your brain is scrambled after major concussions. And doctors will tell you, you're not doing anything for a while because your brain is screwed up. It needs to heal. And if you take too many of those, it screws you up forever. Like, so to come to a doctor, tell him these things, and he kind of goes, well, it sounds like a concussion. What do you want me to do about it? You tell him to stop. Your job as a doctor is to help people. You go, oh God, that's a concussion. You sit down for a while. Let's figure this out. couple more of these, and you're going to be brain damaged for the rest of your life. That's what a doctor is supposed. I'm not even a doctor, and I know how bad that is. And he also talked about he got misdiagnosed for a strap infection, and the company and the doctors in the company they said overprescribed him antibiotics. Like, a strap infection is also really bad. That could honestly kill you if you don't take care of that correctly. I'm not sure how bad they are anymore. I'm not sure how much of a bad, like this is the story we need to be spreading. Like, I love these guys and girls to death. I love pro wrestling to death. I've watched it for 20 plus years. I'm not going to stop anytime soon. But I want the guys and girls who do this to continue on with their life. They're killing me for their entertainment. I feel like we should give back at least to them. You know, they're doing so much just damage to their bodies. I feel like this part of the story needs to be spread around more. I don't know if CM Punk or his fans will ever listen to me. And like one of the stories was he got fired on his wedding day. You know what? That sucks. Absolutely sucks. Vince apologized for it. I think he was sincere about it. I think he's sincere because I honestly don't think he knew when CM Punk was getting married. That's sort of how, you know, Vince McMahon is in another universe at the moment. And that sucks. Absolutely, no one likes that. You know, I got turned down for a job on my birthday. That's terrible. I'll live. He'll live. But treating your talent like this in a medical way is absolutely terrible, and that's what needs to be spread around. That's what, as fans, we need to be standing up saying, that's bull. We don't want that. If we give you money, that money and that profit should be going to take care of your wrestlers. Now, unfortunately, the way some of the wrestling works, especially still within the WWE, is they're independent contractor kind of things. Yeah, we sign you, you work for us, you only work for us, you're an exclusive contract. You know, we have some doctors, but a lot of medical bills and all of other stuff, I believe, still falls on the shoulders of the wrestlers themselves. And you're talking about guys, you know, try going to a medical insurance going, all right, you know, I want you to insure me. What do you do? Well, I do wrestling, so I spend almost every day of the week falling on my body and, you know, doing all these other things. And the insurance company's like, yeah, we now can't insure you because you're way too much of a liability. I was like, yeah, we'll insure you for lots of this money. And these guys, you know, sort of struggle. The least the WWE can do is help the talent medical-wise. Because without the talent, they got nothing going for them. Even lately, I watched TLC. And I'm not probably going to show TLC. This is probably my final show of the year. But I watched TLC, and I watched the first match versus Luke Harper and Dolph Ziggler. And gee, mini Christmas. Luke Harper fell so hard on his arm and shoulder early in that match. And I knew he was in pain. Absolutely. Because you can tell when someone's selling. And if you follow Luke Harper enough, you can tell. That's my fantasy team. You can tell when someone's in pain and someone's selling. Luke Harper was in pain. Absolute pain. Like tears, almost tears of pain. Like, and he has to now go to this doctor, which I don't think anyone after this interview would trust anymore, going, I might have screwed up something in my arm and or shoulder. The guy probably looked at him going, well, we'll wrap it up and give you some painkillers. Ooh, good job, doctor. No, that's bull. These people are killing themselves. The least you can do is go to the doctor. God, I've really done something bad with my shoulder. Okay, come here. We got to take a look. We're going to get some x-rays over here. We're going to make sure you're not hurt. Oh, God, this is really bad. All right, you probably need to take a couple days off, maybe a couple of weeks off. Maybe we'll talk to Vince. Maybe we'll keep you on television, but you're not working because we don't want you to lose your arm. You know? And Ziggler got himself busted open somehow. There were cuts all over Luke by the end of that match. Even in the stairs match, I watched Eric Rowan. Eric Rowan had cuts in between his fingers, and they were bleeding badly. Like, these guys they're dying out there. The least we can do is support them, is to demand better medical care from the WWE. You know, tell them, hey, yeah, we'll buy the network as long as that money goes to help take care of these people. Your talent, our favorite guys we cheer for and spend money. Take care of them. That's what we need to be spreading around, if you haven't caught the gist of my show so far. So that's what I take away from this, is that I feel like as fans in the news organizations, we're focusing too much on gossip and not on something that's actually like the real story and the things we really should promote for, things we really should demand for. Yeah, do we demand better storylines? Absolutely. But I'll take medical over better storylines any day of the week. So that's what I got from all these sort of interviews and all they started talking about. And I really don't care about some of the gossip that was going on. I don't care who CM Punk likes or hates or despises. Whatever. That's their prerogative. That's not my life. I don't care about that. But you know what I do kind of care about is something I find extremely ironic with CM Punk, because we're still on CM Punk. The show is very CM Punk oriented. But what's going to happen here is, after all of this, after the interviews, articles upon articles are coming out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere. Because I remember Punk saying, he said, I'm done with wrestling for a while. I don't want to do wrestling. You know, I've killed myself for so long. I can't do it anymore. I want to live better. I understand that completely. And then he goes and signs a deal with the UFC. What? This is what confuses me. Now, first off, I'm not confused that he's a UFC fan. He talks about UFC. Yeah. One of the stories was he was asked to walk with one of the fighters down to the ring, and WWE said no. And then a week later, Triple H walked down with Merriweather in one of those boxing matches. Was it Merriweather? Something like that. I don't watch boxing. I don't watch a lot of UFC either, weirdly enough. But so the UFC now has signed him, or they've signed a deal for multiple fights. And now I'm just confused. I am. Because why? You just spent 3-4 hours pouring your heart out about, injuries and people, Ryback kicking you too hard and breaking your ribs and all these terrible things. Why would you sign with UFC? This isn't. Yeah. Ryback kicking you too hard in the ribs, breaking your ribs, and you're pissed. What are you gonna do or say to when the guy across the octagon wants to do that to you on purpose? The guy on the other side goes, "I want to win this fight," which means there's a good chance I'm going to hurt you badly. It feels really weirdly contradictory. Now, could it be that they offered him a lot of money? Probably. I can see the UFC absolutely going, "Oh, you left. Well, we got this nice contract, and look at this pile of money with it." And I know he said money's not everything, but come on. Even the most noble of hearts will see a giant pile of money and go, "Okay, maybe. You want me to pay me this much for these fights? Maybe only 4 times a year, maybe only 3 times a year. Okay." I can easily see that happening. I'm not calling him a hypocrite. No, I would do that. Seriously. So if I call him a hypocrite, I'm a hypocrite. But it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me that you would go on these complaining and then sign up with a league with guys who might hurt you. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. I honestly think this as well. I think his first couple of fights are going to be against scrubs. I absolutely do. I believe the UFC will set him up to make him look really good, because they broke headlines there on ESPN and everywhere. When the headlines broke that, CM Punk, former CM Punk, because he was still hot and over at the time because of the interviews with Art of Wrestling podcast. It's like, he's going to come to the UFC next year. Ooh, he's got big fights. The last thing UFC wants to do is sign him, put him in the octagon, and have him get completely destroyed by someone in his first fight, because then everyone's not going to tune in for a second fight. That's the UFC. The UFC has grown and tried to be a little bit smart about that. Truth be told, though, I know a couple of other wrestling personalities. I think Batista had I don't know how many fights he's had. He had one. I know for a fact he won one fight. But I don't know what his record is. I know Bobby Lashley still fights, but he doesn't do it in the UFC. He does it in the smaller mixed martial art circuits. And I think he has a winning record right now. Of course, Bobby Lashley's also 6'6" and 300 pounds of pure muscle. So I'm not sure if he's winning because of his fighting skills, or he's just taking the guy and then punting him out of the ring. That could work too. That's how you win fights in the UFC, right? You can punt the other guy out of the ring. It's just such a weird story, and I just don't understand the logic behind it. I really don't. I talked to a couple of my friends, and they don't understand the logic behind it. Next thing you know, he's going to actually accept that challenge against Jason David Frank, the former Green Ranger of the Power Rangers, and they're going to have a fight in UFC, and that'll be the most pro wrestling thing the UFC has ever done. It's so strange, but this has become sort of the winter of Punk, the winter of Punk's discontent, if you want to call it something like that. And I don't blame him. I honestly don't blame him at all. He brings up a lot of good points. I think we all should pay attention to that. The medical thing, the most important at all. And you got to realize that to change stuff, for companies that exist by themselves, like the WWE, we as fans have to force them to accept what we want. We did that with Daniel Bryan. That was a very big success. But we need to keep the momentum up. And that momentum fell when Daniel got injured, and there was no one. Then there's no one that we have wanted to follow. We're split. People want Cesaro to be successful. Oh man, Vince almost buried Cesaro. Said he didn't have it. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. He had plenty of it. He has all of it. He is full of it. Just give him a stage. Give him a match. Give him a match with William Regal for 20 minutes. Oh God, that would be amazing. Anyway, so we have to show them. Because right now they're telling us what we want. We got to show them, no, we want this. This is what we want. And there is plenty of ways to do that. Look at Damien Mizdow, going back to an old show. We want Mizdow to be successful after his series of gimmicks. And he's taken that gimmick, he's made it his own, and he's getting over because of it. It's been he's been one of the best things on Raw. He's one of the best things that they have going for him. Have going on. So support that. Support tag teams. Well, the 3 that are left, or the 2 that are left. Support the guys you really want to support, really push, really go for it. Just force them to change. We've done it already once before this year. We can do it again. We just have to force it. Absolutely have to force it. We want change. We want better. I want better medical for wrestlers. You do so much for the company, so much for the fans. That is the very minimum we can do, is to be taken care of. Take care of them as much as we can. I've been rambling on for about 20 some odd minutes, so I'm going to end it here. The winter of Punk has been almost like the summer of Punk. He's been the most over guy for not doing anything. He's been the most over guy for leaving. Think about that for a second. I'm going to leave you on that. So this has been a view from the cheap seats. I hope you've all enjoyed. Please, if you have, leave a comment below. Like me on Facebook. Subscribe to my channel. Rate me. Whatever. But please, come back again next year. I'm going to have a lot of good stuff to talk about. Probably a lot of bad stuff to talk about, if anything is any indication. The next show is being the Royal Rumble, one of my all-time favorite pay-per-views. So that's it for me. Thank you for listening. I'm out of here, guys.